What is the ruling when making a GoFundMe page for a deceased person when it comes to the intention for Sadaqah Jariyah?
طيب, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In response to this question regarding the ruling of establishing a GoFundMe page for a deceased with the intention of Sadaqah Jariyah, an ongoing charity. So as an answer, I wanted to share some of the verdicts of some of the scholars pertaining to this matter, inshallah. So we'll start with a question that was posed to Sheikh Salih Al-Fawzan concerning this matter.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد. هذا السؤال نلقيه على فضيلة شيخنا الشيخ صالح الفوزان حفظه الله، وهو أن بعض العوائل إذا توفي عندهم الشخص قاموا بإرسال رسائل يطلبون التبرع له بمبلغ مال يجعل له وقف ببناء مسجد أو حفر آبار، وربما يحددون المبلغ بكذا وأحيانا لا يحددونه. فما رأي فضيلتكم حفظكم الله تعالى؟
So the question that was posed to Sheikh Salih Al-Fawzan is that some families send messages asking on behalf of a deceased donations to perform an act of waqf, an endowment that's left behind, to build, for example, a mosque or to dig a well. So at times they may specify the amount that they want to get to of their funds, but not always. So what is your opinion? May Allah preserve you.
هذا بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه. هذا العمل مبتدع.
So after praising Allah and sending salat and salam upon the noble messenger Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Shaykh Salih Fawzan answers by saying this act is an innovation.
ولا يجوز.
And it's not permissible.
ربما يحرج المسؤول فيجيب على ما سألوا وهو غير راض بذلك.
And he says perhaps the person being asked will feel embarrassed and make a donation even though he doesn't want to.
لكنه ينجبر على الموافقة. فلا يجوز هذا العمل. والله أعلم.
So he says, however, the person may feel forced to agree. So this action is not permissible and Allah knows best.
أما من حيث هذه الطريقة التي ذكرت أنه يجمع على الميت ويجعل فيه عقار يكون صدقة فلا أرى هذا.
So the next question that we're presenting of a verdict is a verdict by Sheikh Muhammad bin Salih Al-Uthaymeen, where he was asked a similar question, where he responds by saying, as for this method that you mentioned, where it is gathered collections of funds for a deceased and is placed for him in a land, and he says, I do not see this should be carried out.
لا أرى هذا لأن الصحابة رضي الله عنهم مات منهم العظماء والذين لهم حق على الأمة من الخلفاء وغيرهم وما جمعوا لهم.
He says, I do not see this because many of the great ones from the Sahabas, from the Khulafa and those who have a great positioning, passed away and they didn't gather funds on their behalf.
ليتصدقوا لهم.
يقول السائل انتشار الروابط للصدقة عن الميت حتى أصبحت ظاهرة، هل في ذلك شيء؟
So here's a question that's being presented to Sheikh Muhammad Hisham Al-Tahiri from Kuwait, where he's asked a similar question regarding these charitable links that's being passed around for donation on behalf of the deceased, if there's anything wrong concerning it.
هذا تسول في العصر الحديث. تعرفون التسول؟
He says it is a form in modern day times of asking or begging. He said, do you know what is asking?
التسول في العصر الحديث صار بألوان وأشكال وصور. من التسول في العصر الحديث أنه إذا مات ميت يرسل أحد أصحابه أو أقربائه للناس ويتسولهم، يقول نعمل بير لفلان ونعمل مسجد لفلان فلنتصدق حتى نعمل بير له أو مسجد له.
He said nowadays modern day ways of asking or begging for money has various of types. And he says from the modern day types is if someone passes away, a family member or a close companion will make for him a collection of funds and share it around and ask people to give donation on his behalf so we can do sadaqah, we can build a well for him. He said this is from the modern day types of asking.
وأنا أسأل هؤلاء سؤالا واحدا فقط، لا أقول بالكراهة ولا بالتحريم، لكن أسألهم سؤالا واحدا. لما كان يموت الميت من الصحابة في زمن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم وبعد زمنه، لماذا الصحابة وهم عندهم رغبة أكثر منا في الخير ولا لا؟ أحسنتم، أكيد قالوا. طيب هم عندهم رغبة أكثر في الخير وعندهم رغبة في إيصال الخير للغير ولا لا؟ أكثر منا. طيب لماذا لم يقولوا عند القبر أو بعد القبر يلا نجمع صدقة لفلان ونسوي له بير، يلا نجمع.
He says, I pose a question to these people that are doing this act. Never mind looking at whether I say it's disliked or haram. When someone of the Sahabas passed away, did they gather money or funds with the intention to build a well for someone of sadaqah? And bearing in mind that they were the most zealous of people to goodness more than us, and they were more zealous of reaching good to others more than us. So why did they not gather wealth and say we're going to build a masjid for so and so? Why did they not say this speech?
إن قال قائل لأنهم كانوا فقراء. طيب هذا يمكن أن ينطبق في أول زمن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم، لكن في آخر زمن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم وسع الله عليهم الدنيا، وفي عهد عمر وعثمان كانوا من الأغنياء كلهم حتى لا يكادون يجدون فقيرا يدفعون إليه زكاة أموالهم. لماذا لم يفعلوا هذا الفعل؟
So the Shaykh, he responds by saying that if someone were to say that they didn't do so because they were poor, then that probably be in the first part of Islam. But later on, when wealth spread, or especially during the time of Umar al-Khattab and Uthman, where they were rich and reached to a point that they couldn't even find a person to give their sadaqah to, why did they not do it during those times?
فليجيبوني من يفعل هذا الفعل. أما الاستدلال بعموم وتعاون على البر والتقوى هذا في غير محله، استدلال في غير محله.
So he said, let those people answer me regarding this. And as for using the statement of Allah, وَتَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْبِرِّ وَالتَّقْوَى, that will let us cooperate upon good and piety, then this is using the verse and other in its appropriate place.
شيخنا عندنا ظاهرة في الكويت أن إذا مات أحد الناس قامت إذا مات رجل أو امرأة، إذا مات يعني أحد المسلمين، قامت إحدى الجمعيات بفتح رابط، يعني بعد إذن ذوي المتوفي يفتحون له رابط لبناء مسجد حقه، يبنون له مسجد.
So here's a question as posed to Sheikh Salih Suhaimi regarding a similar topic, where a questioner from Kuwait says this is becoming widespread, that if a man or a woman passes away, after seeking the permission of the family of the deceased, they collect funds through charitable links to build a masjid for him or her.
من باب جمع التبرعات فينشر الرابط على الناس وعلى المسلمين وفي المواقع ويتبرع من يعرفه ومن لا يعرفه.
So this is from the angle, the questioner says, from tabarru'at, collecting charity and funds. So these links to give funds are shared amongst the people on websites, and people begin to give charity for this deceased, for people that perhaps know him and those who may not know him.
ولا ندري هل هذا من باب الصدقة أو من باب إهداء الثواب.
أرى أن يوجه هذا للجنة الدائمة هذا السؤال.
So the questioner says, we don't know if this is from the angle of sadaqah or a person gifting his reward to the deceased. So the Shaykh responds, the Shaykh Salih Suhaimi, that I see that this question be directed to Lajnat al-Daima.
شيخ بعضهم ينقل عن فضيلتكم أنكم أجزتم هذا العمل.
والله أنا كنت فعلا أجزته لكن بدأت أتردد فيه.
نعم.
So the question asks that some people quote that you, O Shaykh, have permitted this. So the Shaykh responds by saying, yes, at first I permitted it, and now I've begun to become hesitant regarding it.
لأنه كثر بطريقة يعني وربما من يستحق ومن لا يستحق بلغني أن هناك أناس حتى لا يصلون ويفعل هذا لهم.
Because it has reached me that it has increased to a level where it is gathered for those who may deserve it and those who may not deserve it, and perhaps it's placed for him a collection fund.
والله شيء.
He says, for this reason I began to become hesitant regarding this, and I direct you to those for the verdict, and also I take back my previous fatwa.